Well, Razorback fans, what has changed exactly with the Razorback football team from the very beginning of spring practice to now? Answers may surprise you. So let's talk about on today's Locked On Razorbacks podcast.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Nabors, the host of the number one Razorbacks podcast in all the world. And thank you as always for making us a part of your afternoon. This afternoon, hope everybody's having a wonderful Friday as you have finally made it to the weekend, as we'll talk a little bit about Razorback baseball, taking care of business in a very, very crucial game one last night against the Georgia Bulldogs in Fayetteville. And we'll also get into a what-if scenario in question because the transfer portal is still high on everyone's minds. Of what if this weekend doesn't result in any portal pops? It will be time for panic mode. We'll get into that. But first off, I wanted to kind of shift gears a little bit. And since I almost say it's gone quiet on the portal side, but it's not quiet ever. But there hasn't just really been any movement there. And I wanted to do some football discussions with you too, because I still feel like there are people who listen to this podcast and whatnot that are still pretty invested and still pretty interested in football and what's it looking like and everything. And I'll tell you, I went to practice yesterday again, and you know, there were some things that I saw that were kind of the same and pretty consistent, but there were some things that were different. And it started making me wonder about the past few weeks of spring practice. From when I first got to see this team and discuss this team and look at them and everything to where it's at now. Has my feelings changed about anything? Has my mind changed about anything? Has anything actually happened and transpired in that short period of time? It's a short period. It's been a few weeks that would be worthy of kind of jumping into and discussing in a various way. And it's kind of funny because there hasn't been any major changes other than about two things for me. Again, we're talking about from the very beginning of spring practice to where it's at right now. And the thing to me being the number one thing that's changed is wide receiver, because what I have seen has been an inordinate amount of talent, perfectly capable guys to be able to run out there at any given time and really fight for any sort of starting position. Each and every day that I have gone out there to practice, I've seen different wide receivers and a different wide receiver group and core run with the ones, run with the twos, and run with the threes. I mean, sure, there's ones that run like more often than not, like, for instance, Antonio Jordan. He runs with the threes each and every time. But there have been times I've seen Courtney Crutchfield out there with the ones or the twos. There's times I've seen a guy like even a Chris Marshall run out there with the ones and twos. And I kept thinking there in the beginning that maybe it was just because they don't have anybody and they can't figure out. I don't see it that way. I think it's more of the fact that they have guys that are perfectly capable, but they're trying to have them play with different quarterbacks and seeing how that connects, seeing how that builds, seeing how that works. I think that's a major part of it. And so when you have that type of talent at wide receiver and you have the abundance and the talent that you do have when you're out there on the field, I'm just going to be honest. It's like, I like what I'm seeing. And then another thing would be, as far as what's changed or what's really developed since the beginning, there's one particular player on defense that I'm going to tell you about. It's not shocking. And it's not something that, you know, maybe you should be over dramatic about. But folks, I think Tay Lockett, the true freshman, is going to be a guy that not only contributes this year effectively, but ends up being really good for the Razorbacks. Maybe even potentially one of their best secondary players on the team. And for those of you who don't know the Tay Lockett story, Tay Lockett actually came on this podcast years ago. And I've been very appreciative of him. He committed to Arkansas from the jump because he was a diehard Razorback fan growing up. I believe one of his parents from Arkansas, even though he lived in California. There was potential there when he was younger to be a 5-star player, but it seemed once he changed schools and everything, of course, we know how that goes. Oh, if you're not at a certain school or you're not playing a certain area, you don't get the love and appreciation. But this guy's really good. He had an interception the other day, which was a great play. I've seen him running out with, at the worst, the 2s on defense, but in some cases, he's even, made some plays with them, contributed at a high level with them. And I know that there's parts of the defense that have been pretty impressive as it is. In fact, yesterday during the scrimmage, they did goal line situations and the defense just ate the offense up. I mean, they stopped him on the goal line each and every time. There's even a fumble that was involved and the defense went nuts. You get the feeling that the defense is far and away ahead of the offense. And I think that could be contributed to the fact that you have an SEC caliber staff, guys who have been in the SEC and Ron Roberts and everybody. You can also attribute that to the talent, because I think that overall, as crazy as it may seem, the talent on defense might be better than what it is on offense, at least at this given point in time. So there's a lot of things that could go into it. But Tay Lockett has been just so impressive. And for a true freshman, especially a guy that, people weren't really totally sure about, of like what his situation is or what he's going to try to prove or what kind of a addition he can make to the team. Well, he's kind of proven it in a lot of ways right now. So I've been thrilled to see that. Now, those are kind of just 2 things that have really stood out. But the one thing I find fascinating, that I wouldn't say it's a change, but it's been, and I said this from the beginning, about wanting to watch Ryan Silverfield as the head coach and how he handles his practice and goes about his practices. And what I'm going to say may sound extremely insulting to some, which it shouldn't, but also cringy, or it may sound annoying, whatever it is. There just may be a negative feeling towards it. There is a lot of similarity in how the practice is handled between how Ryan Silverfield does it now and how Sam Pittman used to do it. Stay with me on this. If you went to practices, Sam Pittman was a guy who just kind of walked around at times and checked everything out, made sure everything was good to go, all of that. But then when it came to like individual drills and whatnot, he was with the offensive line. He's over there helping, over there getting done. Doesn't mean that he didn't go over to other places. Doesn't mean he didn't go over to the linebackers or whoever on occasion, but far and away, the majority of his time was spent with the offensive line. Makes sense as an offensive line coach himself. Ryan Silverfield does the exact same thing. In fact, when I'm trying to find him, and get to give him some views and try to follow him around and whatnot, and because I like to get that for our content and everything at Inside Arkansas. Whenever I see that and I see him, he's almost always, I'm like, where can I find him? Well, he's with the offensive line. Now, when they go into scrimmages and team stuff, he's in the back and just doing it. But once again, he just goes with the offensive line. So I say that because some of you are probably going to be like, this is a negative, because that's anything with Pittman. If he's compared to Pittman, it's terrible. And I think that's really unfair. But I also understand Silverfield, just like I said this about any coach, and I even said this about Pittman, and I still agree with it to this day. If you have a specialty, if you have something about you as a head coach, some head coaches are known because they're a great offensive mind or a defensive mind or a great manager or a great offensive line coach or whatever it is. Every head coach has a, quote, specialty. They all have a thing that they kind of fall back on, that they believe in, that they understand, all of that. And that's exactly what Ryan Silverfield has with the offensive line. He's going to spend a lot of time with them, which is fine by me, because that means that he's taking the one thing that he's really, I'm sure he's good at a lot of things, but the main thing that he's good at, and then just trying to go along with it and trying to figure it all out. And you want him to be as good as possible. You want him to be great. Offensive line is very important. And so it's been fascinating to kind of see that and how he's handled himself and the coaching that he puts into play. He's got offensive line coaches and he allows them to coach, but he definitely gets in there, and he's got a certain way of going about it, a certain way that he wants it done. So that gives me a little bit of a good feeling on that. So we have another practice tomorrow morning. I don't know if it's going to be a scrimmage. I don't think it's going to be a scrimmage, which is unfortunate. I wish it was. But it's probably be something similar to what we've seen many times. And I'm going to continue to talk about it and continue to give thoughts and opinions on it and continue to try to make sense out of all of this. And spring game is a week from tomorrow. And a lot of you will have the chance to see it at that point in time. So, but my point to bring all this up is just to let everybody know that there are things that have developed. There are things that have been, one way and then another way and then another way. Like there has been some things that have changed in some cases and in a lot of cases for the better. But as I will continue to bring up, the quarterback situation continues to be a concern for me. And I know nobody wants to hear that because I've talked about it so much, but it is. It's a very big concern for me. I have not been very impressed with the basics of these quarterbacks. Doesn't mean they can't figure it out. Doesn't mean they can't get better. But it's going to be a tough thing to sell. It's going to be a tough thing to deal with if it's at the end of the season and you don't have a very great season. And one of the main reasons you didn't have a great season is because of poor quarterback play. And people are going to be like, okay, well, these were the guys you chose. You could have gone into the portal and got somebody else. You could have gotten, whatever. You chose these guys and none of them panned out. That's a you problem. You lose a lot of trust that way. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen. But I still need to see a whole lot more from this quarterback room and in these practices for me to start believing in them at this point in time. But hey, they can prove me wrong. I've been wrong before. I know many people may not know that, but I've been wrong before. Well, Razorback baseball's been wrong before, but they weren't last night. They took care of business, and it was a huge game. We'll talk about that. So stay with us here on Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, Razorback fans, have you ever opened up your bank account and thought, where'd all my money go? You're not alone. Keeping track of subscriptions, spending, and bills can get overwhelming pretty fast. That's where Rocket Money comes in, helping you take control of your finances all in one place. It's how it tracks all your subscriptions in one spot, so it can help you cancel the ones that you don't need with a few taps. It automatically categorizes your spending so you can actually see where your money is going, and you can set budgets, get alerts, and stay on top of upcoming bills. It's just making everything feel a lot more organized, and you get a clearer picture of finances day to day. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you cancel unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/lockedon. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Also presented by our friends over at Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill is still sitting wide open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for. It includes skills, experience, and location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. Here's a stat that says it all. In the minute that I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. And when you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Okay, so moving on into the next segment of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. So shout out to Razorback baseball. A team that last weekend, ended up sweeping Alabama, which was desperately needed. I think Alabama was a good team, and taking care of business against them on the road was just what the doctor ordered, desperately needed. But there was still an element of, okay, this is great. This is awesome. But is it just a flash in the pan? Is it just one of those series? Because let's be honest, in the SEC, there has been a lot of those. A lot of those just like, whoa, hey, what's this? What's going on here? Okay, it's cool. But then the next week you're losing. Like it's winning and losing all up and down all around. So people are waiting to see, okay, how can this transcend? How can this transpire? Well, series is not over yet whatsoever. It's not. Arkansas could still lose this series, 1,000%. But we all know how important it is to win game one. Game one is a difference maker in every regard. And Arkansas did that last night, 6-3 over the Georgia Bulldogs. Arkansas had the lead from the jump and never let it go. They scored 3 runs in the first inning. And, I mean, they needed all of them, let's be honest. But it was a great performance by Arkansas overall. Shout out to Hunter Dietz. He's the guy now. You know, not to say that there was any doubt of it. I didn't have any doubt of it. But he's the man. He just goes in there and he's being the Friday night guy or the first day guy and takes care of business. He gives up only 5. He has pitches 5 1/3. Gives up 5 hits, only 2 earned runs. Both of them were solo home run shots. So you had that going for you. And then you have, of course, actually, no, it wasn't a home run. Gabe Gackle gave up the other one. I want to make sure of that. So, but I think that he was there with when he left the field and had him on base. But anyway, 6 strikeouts, had only 85 pitches, took care of business. I mean, outstanding work. Gabe Gackle comes in, 2 innings pitched for him. It gives up 2 hits and a home run, has 2 strikeouts. And then Ethan McIlvain, man, he made it scary at times, but he goes an inning and 2/3, doesn't give up a hit, does have 2 strikeouts and only 2 walks, but pitching was really great. And that's saying something because the offense for Georgia is fantastic. It's a fantastic offense. And then on the hitting side of things, Damian Ruiz, he's great, man. I'm so glad he's back. 2 for 4 at that. I also had 2 runs. Carter Rutenbar hit his first SEC home run. That thing was an absolute piss missile. That thing went over 400 feet, 100 miles an hour off the bat, and really set a tone there. So great showing for him. You also had, Reese Robinette, TJ Pompey all get hits. Micah New got a hit there too. Ryder Helfrich got a hit as well. I mean, they all did good. They were manufacturing some runs. Obviously, there was times you wish you would have scored more, but they only left 4 guys on base. And I say only because normally it's like a double-digit thing and it gets really frustrating. But at least when you had guys in scoring position for the most part, you took care of business and you got them home. You got the runs home. So I thought it was interesting too in the very first inning with Arkansas scoring 3 runs. Every one of them were going up there like they were going to bunt. Now, it's not a crazy concept to just do the old fake out, be like, oh, I'm going to go bunt and haha. But it's like every player did it. Rutenbar did it. Helfrich did it. And then when Helfrich got up there, I'm like, what are you doing? You're Ryder Helfrich. What do you mean bunting? You're first at bat of the game. And it's in the first inning. What are we doing? And I think it got into the psyche of old Volchko, which, well, a lot of you remember him. He's a guy that was, from my understanding, he was basically a Razorback. Like they were under the impression he was going to be a Razorback this past offseason, and he didn't make it to campus. There's reasons for that. I say that it's more of a administration issue that was not handled correctly here at Arkansas than it was anything else. That's just my theory or opinion. But still, there was a little bit of oomph behind it. And so I thought it was interesting that maybe they were just trying to get into and psych him out. And I think it worked because he ended up throwing nearly 30 pitches in the first inning. And for what he did, I mean, yeah, he had 5 innings pitched. He got 5 hits, 5 runs, 4 earned runs, had 8 strikeouts. So, I mean, it wasn't like he was terrible, but threw 104 pitches. But Arkansas really teed him up and really got into his head in the very beginning there. So, yeah, taking care of business was exactly what you wanted to see from the Razorbacks. It was weird seeing Wes Johnson out there too. He was getting antsy with the umpires. I also think it's funny, and if anybody else noticed this, but like the whole coaching staff for Georgia is just like standing outside the dugout. Like you have the little stairway up there, and they're just standing out in the front of it. It's all of them. I don't know why. I just think it's kind of strange. But still, if Arkansas wins this series, man, it's like Dave Van Horn might be the Nick Saban of coaches when it comes to coming up against the former assistants, because the dude just owns them, just absolutely owns them. But great win for the Razorbacks. Hopefully they take care of business in one of these next 2 games and get this series win, because if they beat Georgia in this series, folks, Hogs are all the way back, and we can start feeling good about them once again. So we'll talk some interesting Razorback basketball stuff. What if they can't get a portal pop this weekend? Is it time to panic? Well, we'll discuss. Stay with us here on Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, Razorback fans, we know that the NHL playoffs are here, where every shift matters, every moment is intense, and the pressure is at its highest. Well, just like performances that matters on the ice, it matters off the ice too, and that's where Rougiet comes into play. Rougiet offers treatments designed to help you get ready and stay ready when it matters the most. Their top option, Rougiet Ready, combines clinically proven ingredients in a simple mint that dissolves under your tongue. It works fast and often in about 15 minutes, and can last up to 36 hours. They also offer Go Long, designed to help with both performances and control. It's all about confidence and feeling like yourself again. So head to Rougiet.com/LockedOnNHL and get 15% off your ED treatment. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNHL for 15% off Rougiet Performance Medicine for Men. Okay, so final segment here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. So, Razorback basketball, at the time of the recording of this podcast, no portal pops have happened, and we're going into the weekend. And my hope is that on Monday, when we meet again, that we will have portal pops to discuss. At least one, maybe even two, because that's just what I'm going with the expectation. It seems to make sense, considering that we're getting closer and closer to the portal closing, which is on Tuesday. And when you're in that situation like Cal's in and how the progression's gone and all the trends are gone, you're going to have a couple. But what if they don't? What if the Razorback basketball team ends up not having any portal additions by this weekend? Or on Monday, I'm doing this podcast and I'm coming to you once again saying, yep, nobody here. Yeah, it would be pretty concerning, wouldn't it? Yeah. Be pretty upsetting, wouldn't it? Yeah. Would it be time to panic? Yeah, I actually do think it would be. I actually do think it would be. And I'm usually the one that's very safe and try to stay on the safe side of things when it comes to this. But it's like, how do you not? How do you not go into a little bit of a panic mode? Some of you have already been there. Some of y'all been there since the jump of panic mode. But I've been very reserved. I've been just saying, hey, well, it'll play out when it plays out. However, if we're sitting here on Monday and there's still nothing, nada, I am going to get a little bit concerned because we know about the importance of a big man. And you've yet to get one. Sure, Cooper Bowser is a tall player, but he's not big. And we know how important it is getting a big man. And then the more that the portal goes on like this, the less that big men are available. And so I don't know if Razorback fans in general can handle something like that. I don't know if they want to. I don't want to. I don't want to go through that. But it would end up being a very tragic situation. And then I would be stuck in this position of like trying to stay positive and be like, well, it's going to be fine. It's Cal and everything. But then it's like, okay, why isn't anything happening then? Everybody else is getting stuff. Why aren't you? Why is it happening for you? I just don't want to get myself in that position. I just don't want to deal with that. And then, maybe it's a cop-out answer. Maybe it's just because I'm a joker or something like that. But I just don't want to deal with something like that. I just don't want to deal with it. So let's just not let that happen. Let's just not even worry about that. Let's just have everything be sunshine and rainbows. And let's get us some portals. Let's get us some pops. Let's get him some dudes. Let's get Chom. How about we bring Chom in? He's the guy. I'll feel really great when Chom calls the Hogs. Be better. I mean, this is the kind of thing. It's like, will he? I don't know. I hope so. But if he doesn't, I'm sure I'll talk myself into something else and why it's going to be okay. Usually what I do. But appreciate each and every one of you listening in and watching into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or on Google Play. You can also get it from me on Twitter at John Nabors Show for any questions, comments, concerns you may have. That'll do it for us today. Same podcast time, same podcast channel next Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody. See you then.